So today I'm talking about Deadhouse Landing, E&C Esslemont's second book in the path to Ascendancy in the Malazan world. And now we're getting really into the crux of the early foundation of the Malazan Empire. And what a fantastic ride that is. Like, this is such a brilliant book. The names coming out now is Tattersill, Surly, Cawthorn Crust, what was his name? Trajan. Yeah, there's a few names that you'll recognise later in the story. In the other series that are starting to creep their way in now, and this is where they all meet up with Callanved and Dancer. Now, because I don't like to do spoilers, I kind of think my last one was a little bit too vague. Like, I want to talk about how good it is and what I love, but I don't want to give it all away. So it's sort of dancing that that delicate path. But so I'm going to kind of have to tell you a little bit that's going on. So after being sort of booted out of Little Henge, Dancer and Callanved wind up on Malazan Empire. They're back to what they're doing best, causing mischief and taking on crime bosses. And they also notice the Deadhouse. It's in the name, so that's not much of a spoiler. And if you remember that in the books, they're houses of power. So that is a brilliant little trail of what's going on. But they've also taken over Smiley's Bar, if you remember that one too, from the later books. Or earlier books, later books, earlier books, because these are prequels. And so, there's the Napans there, which is Surly and her crew. So we've got like fighting, like street toughs for the local, uh, you know, Malazan sort of gangs and that, and then Mock, who's still in power there from the tower and the keep in Malazan is Mock's Hold. So Mock still resides in Mock's Hold, but he's not going to live there forever. I think we figure that out if these guys are taking over half the world and it's the Malazan Empire. Mock ain't going to be part of it. So that's another good thread. The Ian C. Esslemont and Steve Erickson. This world is so incredible. So much going on. The epic magic battles, the epic fighting battles. I was reading at work on my lunch break, and I actually had to really restrain my excited, childish giggle when Dasham, the Sword of Hood, went off to face a bunch of people alone, and it's like, because you just know what's coming, and it's so good. Yeah, the epic battles at the end is awesome, and Trajan joining the fold, and yeah, it's all in this one. It's really starting to take shape now, and there's funny moments. Like, I love, yes, because in the later books, in the Book of the Fallen, and I forget what Ian C. Osmond's other series, his later books, um, Dancer and Callanved, they've fully ascended to godhood by that stage. Again, another spoiler, but if you've read the later books, which were the first books, you should know. They're not mentioned that lot. They're big, they're actually mentioned a lot. They're not huge players, but you really, they're the crux of this story right now. They're not the only ones. There's a lot still going on. So you get to see them on a different level, and Callum and Dance are constantly chiding Callanved, and he's just this hapless. He's kind of like Michael Scott, kind of bumbling through life, but with a lot more genius behind him. And Dance is sort of a bit of a Jim character, I suppose, just following along and watching it make sense. Yeah, definitely a lot more genius than Michael Scott. But that kind of bumbling idiot. But there's a method to the clear signs of madness in Callanved, and watching his battle and is sent to power. We discover the Shadow Realm more. We really see that come alight, and yeah, watching the pieces start to come together, and like yeah. So if you've read the Book of the Fallen, it's basically these earlier books are just Easter eggs of little bits, and it's like, oh, that character here and that character there. I was like, oh, I know that name, and like, what do they do later? And there's a lot of that going on in this book, Deadhouse Landing, and there was a bit of it in the Dancer's Lament, the first one in this series, but it's a lot going on in Deadhouse Landing, and I cannot wait to read the next one. I believe it's Calendar's Reach. I should know. I got it sitting in another room somewhere. Oh man, I cannot wait to dive into this next book. These, if you're into epic fantasy, they don't get much more epic than the Malazan Empire, Ian C. Esslemont, and Steve Erickson. Um, dive in anywhere. Like, I read the Book of the Fallen series, which is 10, and they're monsters, and, but worth it. That first series that Ian C. Uh, wrote was 6 books, and they're pretty chunky too. And now this is the sort of the prequels before both those series, and this is the second one. There's 4 out in that, and there's more to come. So I've originally heard this was a trilogy. So I started reading, and then the next one came out, and then I was reading up the other day, and it looks like there's going to be more added to it. So I like to, if you can read a whole series in once, like I know a lot of people do nowadays, you can, but sometimes it's nice to just read them as they come out too. So this will be a mixed bag how I feel about that, but I'm loving it. I'm so glad I started reading this. I was going to read it a year ago when the 3 were out, but for different reasons I didn't. And oh man, I wish I had read it then. But I'm loving it now. I'm so glad I'm back into the Malazan Empire. Deadhouse Landing, Book 2, Path to Ascendancy. Absolutely brilliant, brilliant read. Highly, highly recommend them. They're definitely my top 3 worlds, I'd say. With the Harry Potter stuff and probably the Discworld. Love these books. Love these writers. Check them out. Deadhouse Landing, Ian C. Esslemont, Book 2, Path to Ascendancy. Happy reading, and follow for more.